the last time I was Mafikeng, I was so heartbroken at
I
how
was heartbroken
dirty
as well. Oh,
the CBD is.
Oh, man.
And ke rona re dulang mo lesweng leo. And we sit in the filth and complain that government isn't doing anything. And it's not about waiting for somebody to come and do something. Why re sa kono make? Mafielo. Why re sa kono make? Just the space that we're in.
This is the Hustler's Corner.
Hustlers and squatters, brothers and sisters, welcome to another exciting episode of the Hustler's Corner. The first thing we do, siyabulela. We thank him. Sibonga uthixo. Guys, I'm so excited because this person that's sitting here, ever since I was doing the radio show on Massive Metro, I've been wanting to interview for quite some time, even before COVID-19. So I'm actually glad that it's finally happening. So let me give you a bit of a resume. Her media profile say she's a tenacious go-getter. She's a young gun dubbed by Destiny Magazine. She has fast become a force to be reckoned with in the coaching industry. She's young, ambitious, with a pocket of dreams and wild aspirations. She's had to prove herself time and time again, and she has won over contemporaries and critics alike. Now, being a sought-after leadership development coach with a passion for generational diversity and inclusion, she has quickly become the go-to coach for young or for youth perspective and leadership campaigns. She also does not view coaching as a luxury for her clients, but as a sound investment in the development of all areas of their lives. He has extensive expertise in helping and advising clients to make sound and proactive choices which will lead to a sustainable professional and personal success. Ladies and gentlemen, her many career highlights and accolades. She's got a lot of career highlights and accolades to her name. She has gone on to coach for companies such as SAB, Balo World, Oracle, Tsogosan, just to name a few. She has reached people through her career development shows like Ispani, which is aired weekly on SABC1. I don't know if it's still on. And she's also a 2011 Brightest Young Minds alumni and a South African ambassador of One Young World, representing the country in Zurich, Switzerland in 2011 and 2012 in the United States, 2030. Geez, guys, the resume is so long. I'd like to welcome Tshepiso to the Hustler's Corner. The full name is Tshepiso Ramotsehoa. How are you doing, man?
Thank you so much. Good. How are you?
I'm blessed. Thank you very much for gracing us with your presence.
Thank you for having me.
Can I get the name correct first? I don't like messing up people's names. Is it Tshehoa or Tshehoa?
Tshewa.
Or
Ramotsehoa.
Tshehoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not Khoa, it's
Yeah.
One.
Wa.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for visiting us. I think the first question I'd like to ask is, who are you?
Who am I? I am someone who's so passionate about our country. And I'm someone who, everything that I do is aligned to creating a shift for South Africa. You know, if we don't become active citizens, if we don't hold government officials to higher standards, if we don't say corporate citizens that are in our country need to step up and support young people, then, you know, what are we going to do? Where is our country going to end up? Where are young people in our country going to end up? So I'm an advocate for young people, whether in corporate spaces or in civil society.
That is awesome. Now, let me take you many years back then. Where are you from? Where were you born?
I was born in Thokoza.
And by the way, don't be in a hurry. It's a podcast, so we're not in a hurry.
We're children.
Just take your time.
Yes, I was born in Thokoza, and then I was raised by my granny, Koval Evatoni, until I was old enough to start school, and then I moved in with my parents. They stayed Kokatlehong. Yeah, and then from there we moved to the south of Joburg, and then I was in Marion College, which is a Catholic school, from grade 1 until matric.
And then what did you study?
I studied life and business coaching.
Okay.
So I was actually studying law at the time when I was introduced to coaching as a qualification. So I was studying coaching in Cape Town and I was studying law in Joburg because my dad wouldn't let me move to Cape Town.
Why not?
Yo, he's so protective. You know, parents.
Oh, okay.
It's just like, oya guy, you know. So I was, you know, commuting to and fro between Joburg and Cape Town, and it just got to a point where I needed to choose. Was I going to pursue a career in law, or was I going to really look and explore coaching? And at the time, coaching was something for old white people.
Yeah.
It wasn't something for black people, and
Yeah.
especially not young black people.
Yeah.
You know, I was the youngest person in the group. I was one of only 2 black people in the course, and when I saw people my parents' age start realizing how deeply unhappy they were in their lives, I knew that there was something to this thing. And I knew that the tools that I was getting at 19, if I could get them so young, they could really help me consciously create my life and not be in reaction to my life. And I wanted to support and help other young people by giving them those tools as well.
So what I want to know is, did you already know that you want to become a professional leadership? Are you a personal or leadership coach? What type of coach are you?
Leadership coach,
Okay.
yeah. At the time, I didn't. At the time, I just knew that I wanted to share the resources and the tools that I got with as many people as possible. We had a group of girls in Deep Sloot that we were mentoring. So every Saturday, we would go and we would just share the tools and the resources with them to say, you're young girls, you know, you're vulnerable. Here are tools and resources to help you start thinking about things differently, even in the heart of Deep Sloot. So that's what I did. I volunteered a lot and I just shared what I knew with a lot of young people. And as time went, it sort of evolved into a career and a business.
No, I like that. So I've spent a lot of my life, and I always brag about it. I say to people, I don't know any person that has been to at least 20 schools. I've visited like over 900 schools. So I remember that era, and for many years, one, visiting schools and just doing social responsibility work. Somehow you get to closely experience what young people are going through.
Yeah.
Close range.
Yeah.
It's not just statistics sitting in your office in Santon,
Yeah.
but you're close to it.
Yeah.
And somehow I'm sure that sort of touched you in a way to sort of, without you being aware, push you towards that direction of wanting to do a career that helps out young people.
Definitely. I think it was scary and it was jarring to see what young people are experiencing in our country and just how they just left to their own devices. You know, it's just like young people need to figure it out. You know, if your parents did it, you know, and for me, that doesn't work. You know, if you look at, you know, young people, if you look at the stats, Africa's the youngest continent, but it's not like young people are our main priority, whether from a government perspective or even, you know, working in corporate. The fights with the executives to say, you need to invest in young people. And they would say, why? Because they're here for a year or two and then they're gone. They're not here to build longevity. They're not here to build long-lasting careers. So why should we invest in them? And I always used to say, because who are you waiting to invest in them? If you don't invest in them, do you think the next organization is going to invest in them? So if all of you have the same perspective in terms of investing in young people is a waste of money, then what's supposed to happen to young people who are trying to build careers in these organizations? And that has been the fight of my life. But fortunately, I work with businesses and organizations that see the vision and are able to, you know, really bring their part to the table.
Now let's come to you. Your first break in corporate or your first job?
So fortunately, my parents are both entrepreneurs.
Oh, okay.
So there was never a job. There was,
Everything
you
is
have
a
a
job.
qualification, start a business. I remember my mom was sitting there. So what's the name of your company? And registering on CIP.
Wow.
And it was, I just thought, this lady is she joking?
Oh, big up to your parents.
Crazy. It was like baptism by fire.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
yanong, onale business yun.
Yeah.
You know, so you need to figure it out. My dad, his favorite line is "Tshwantse o etse ho hong."
Yeah.
You know, so that was just how we were raised, that you need to do something. O ka se dule fela, you know, and that was just from the beginning, just started my business.
And how old were you?
I was 21.
So you grew up, you were brought up by entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So it's something that you were exposed to.
Yeah.
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 So I didn't know like at a later age I'll become an entrepreneur. It's just I didn't like it. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good way of also
No, for
you
sure.
know, teaching your children entrepreneurship.
For sure.
Now, how does one make money coaching people?
You really need to be good at what you do. And I think really developing that mastery was something that I focused on heavily in the beginning because I got so much pushback. When you're 21 and you're a life coach, people always say,
What do you know
about
about
life? Like,
You
what are
haven't
you going to
lived.
tell me? So that forced me, because I'm also naturally competitive. I said, okay, sharp. Now I'm going to coach your socks off. I used to over prepare. There's a book that I used to read called The Encore Effect, and it talks about the science of performing. So when you look at athletes and you look at musicians and they get up there and they perform, and then the crowd doesn't want to leave because it was so amazing, and they call for an encore. And how can you create an encore performance in anything and everything that you do? Because then people want more of what you have to offer. And that was sort of the methodology that I created for myself, to say, I'm going to coach you once and I'm going to be so good that you're going to come back and you're going to refer other people and you're going to give me bigger projects. And that's basically how I did it.
And then you coach company staff.
So now I coach young people in corporate, and I also project manage a bursary fund to really support young people in the transition from university to corporate life. And once you're in corporate, sometimes it's your first, maybe you're the first person in your family to ever experience corporate. How is it? You know, and there's no one to ask. There's no one, you don't have proximity to people who you can ask to say, Nare lona haletsena in these organizations, how did you navigate? Because these spaces aren't necessarily created for people who look like us. So you know, like, what do? You're making mistakes. You don't even realize that it's a mistake, you know? So for me, it was so important because I understood the power of having proximity to people who look like you, who you can say, nah, Kizi, you know, when we go to these corporate dinners and all of these forks and knives, I don't know what I'm doing. That could be something so small, but it could affect your confidence and how you show up, you know? And so that's why I keep doing what I'm doing and why I focus on young people so much, to say, you need people that look like you, who you can have honest conversations with, to say, this is what I'm struggling with. Because then we're able to pull resources to really support you and just get over that hurdle.
So you also focus on helping them with professional etiquette.
Yeah,
okay.
It's so important because you don't know what you don't know. And I think I had a client who they had such a massive issue with the manager because the girls would come to work with bikini tops showing, and the manager was a priest, and now he wasn't. You know, these girls just used to drive him crazy. They just feel like, or the guys used to wear the clap, and it's like a banking environment. And we really had to have a conversation about your personal brand, to say, how are you showing up in these spaces? Are you aware? And maybe you're completely oblivious because it doesn't look professional. You don't look polished, you know. And it's something so small. It seems petty, but it actually does have such a significant impact in terms of how people perceive you and the rooms that people are prepared to give you access to. Because if we're not sure, then I'm not really confident in giving you access to high profile clients sometimes, you know, and you want those opportunities. So what do we need to do to tweak a couple of things to make sure that you're eligible for those opportunities?
It's so incredible what you do, because I always even say, even to entrepreneurs and even people in my industry, entertainers, I'm like, it always does help to even work, even if it's just 2 years or 3 years in corporate, because there's a lot of things that you learn there, you know, professionalism, just how you carry yourself, and just how you should be as a professional person who's trying to take their lives somewhere. Because those skills that you learn from there, then they get to help you in growing your own business or in your own personal development, you know?
Definitely. I think, you know, if you want to become an entrepreneur, the key thing is knowing how to monetize whatever it is that you have going on. And a lot of young people are talented, but they just don't know how to create that shift to say, this talent, maybe I'm funny, you know. And you look at TikTok, and this is why creating these masterclasses where young people understand digital entrepreneurship, to say, you're so funny and you have this following, but somehow you're not able to monetize it. You know, what does that look like? What do we need to do so that you can now start making a living off of your talent? Because this narrative of the struggling artist, the struggling musician, I think it's so played out.
It's so played out.
And it's just, it's the most depressing thing that people need to suffer for their art. I don't believe in that. I really don't.
And I always say to people as well, as soon as you've got some sort of followers and you've got some sort of skill or talent, and you can see there's a bit of traction on your social media, find a way to monetize it.
Definitely.
Turn yourself into a business.
Definitely. And that's what I always say. Even people in corporate, don't ever, you know, corporate gives you a false sense of security. You work for this massive organization, what could go wrong? And if anything, COVID showed us what could go wrong. When people were being retrenched from executive right down, people were being retrenched. And when you look at people who weren't retrenched, what is it that they had going on? It made them assets of value to the organization. You know, and I always say, you know, you really need to run yourself like a business, even if you are working within a corporate context. What value do you add here? What value do you bring? And are you plugged into what's happening with this organization in the industry? And you're doing the short course, maybe it's a free online short course, something. It's just going to shift the way that you see things, the way you perceive things, the quality of the conversations you're having at work. Because then people start seeing Tshepiso is actually plugged in. She listens to the radio. She is reading the newspaper. She knows what's going on for this business. She understands the context in which we're operating, the impact that, you know, certain decisions, policies that are made have on us as a business. And she's starting to adapt and connect with clients and stakeholders in a different way because she's aware. So it's so important for us to be knowledgeable. It's so important for us to master whatever industry that we're in a really meaningful way.
And I think this topic is very important because right now I kind of feel as much as a lot of us were lied to, you know, our parents had to, you know, become a part of the working class. We were the working class. We were brainwashed with this 9-to-5 thing. And I'm starting to see more and more younger people
Yeah. Yeah.
and which is a good way to go. But I also still say, and I repeat what I just said earlier, it's very important for you to get at least that sort of professional training before you go
Yeah.
at it on your own. Because I see a lot of musicians and a lot of young entrepreneurs, they don't take a lot of small things seriously. Little things like even the spelling when you're typing an email.
Yeah.
Little things like just greeting people, speaking to people.
Yeah.
I would jump into an Uber or even just call an Uber driver. Uber is like, hola.
Yeah.
But you're running a business, bro. You don't even know who's on the other side of the phone.
It's true.
You know, just
It's
carry
true.
yourself with some professionalism
Yeah,
somehow.
no, for sure. And it's those small things that, you know, you might seem like people are uptight, but they really do have an impact. And like I'm saying, you know, you could miss an opportunity purely based on something like that. You know, even like time. I think this thing, African time, because it's like you disrespect somebody's time. You just make an assumption that somebody will just always be there and you just have access to these people. But people have things to do, you know, and so just honoring your word. If you've made a commitment to be somewhere at a specific time, honor the commitment, you know. And it seems so petty, but it's something that's so, so important.
I know of people, when it hits just 5 minutes, they stand up and leave.
Yeah.
If you're not there,
Yeah.
or when you're not there.
Yeah.
And then they're teaching you that next time you must respect my time.
100%. And people like that, people will label them and say they're difficult to work with. But are they difficult to work with, or is it that they just don't want to be disrespected? You know.
So me and my friend actually Touch, and I think Robert and Fresh, and you know, were busy with this project, and we used to come up with this thing of, for every minute that you're late, it's $500.
Yeah. Yeah. Or they
At some
do
point,
that.
Touch had to pay us thousands.
Yeah. It's so important. And I think exactly what you're saying about running a business. You know, it's small things that if a customer comes to your establishment, we're no really ka 9. Ka 5 to 9 mo thuwe mi kundle. 10 past 9, you're still not there. If they go and they spend their money somewhere else, are you really going to say people are not supporting you? Or when self how is enough to say, you know, ka 8:45 I'll be there, I'm sorting things out to make sure that I'm ready at 9 o'clock to open my doors to welcome, you know, customers and guests. Yeah.
And let's talk about the foundation work that you're doing.
So we are doing a lot of work with young people in university. Hey, it's not easy, but we work with a lot of students from a school in Tembisa. They are sponsored by a corporate client, and they get free education from first year right up to postgrad. And they
wow, what
also
school is that?
get Ponelopele in Tembisa.
Oh, Ponelopele. I know
Yeah.
Ponelopele, yes.
And they also get coaching. So
Oh,
you get
thank
coached
you.
from first year right up until you get employment. And for us, that is the goal. That is the aim. You have somebody with an actuarial science degree, you know. So I think the coaching element definitely is what makes this program different. And our corporate funder, you know, for them, that was the most important thing, to say we could sponsor kids from, you know, disadvantaged backgrounds, but the reality is that, are they able to transition in a meaningful way and in a way where they're empowered when they have these qualifications to go out and sell themselves really well? You know, the biggest disservice you can do to yourself is not sell yourself well, because nobody should be able to sell you better than you're able to sell yourself. So our students are, coached, and we make sure that we get them into corporate jobs, because we work with a lot of corporates. So at least we have access and proximity to those opportunities.
You also work with the SETAs?
We do not. So we're not in the government space.
Okay.
We focus mostly on private.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you would love to work with government?
I would love to work with government. I mean, government's a massive stakeholder in our country, and government has the resources and the muscle to really create that shift, to really, impact more young people. We have, a handful, we have about 35 young people on our program. And it's not a cheap, bursary program. But when you look at how it changes young people's lives, I think that it's an investment that's worth making.
And what are some of the issues that young people are dealing with in your program?
Recently, because now they've gone through first semester exams, and we really had to talk about mental health. And it's something a lot of them can't really speak to their parents about, because parents don't understand. Maybe and really talking to them about the pressure that they're under. Because when you're young, you also have a lot of questions that you don't have answers to. And you don't necessarily have somebody to talk to. Fortunately, they get coaching, so they have somebody to advocate for them. They have somebody who listens to them. They have somebody who can really walk this journey with them, and really not feeling that they're alone. Because when you're alone, it's very easy for the negative thoughts to be amplified, and to feel so isolated and lonely in this journey. And so the mental health, theme this month was really big, and also to talk about making them employment ready, because we have a lot of postgrads that are now coming out of the program, to say, okay, cool, now we have these qualifications, what's next? And even role-playing interviews. I was on the phone doing role-playing of interviews.
Getting them ready for potential
why,
interviews.
And they were like, yo, Tshepi, I never thought about that. And I was just like, that's exactly why we need to do this. This is exactly why we need to have these conversations, so that you're not ambushed by, a random person on the other side when the stakes are high for you. And you're also, you when we look at like the Stellenbosches, the UCTs, those are elite universities. And when you come from UJ, maybe you feel like, hey, maybe I'm not good enough, but you are good enough. And you just need somebody to say, okay, cool, let's work on this thing until you're ready and you're prepared. And my student actually got into a law firm in Sandton. So I'm so proud of her.
Congratulations.
I'm so proud of her. And I just say to her, you have everything that you need to be able to access this opportunity. And it can change your life. It could literally change the trajectory of your life. So let's go for it. And she did it.
That is so incredible. Such a great feeling when you start seeing them grow.
Definitely.
When you start seeing them do their thing.
Definitely.
I've been working with young people for so many years, and little was I aware of the incredible work that one was doing at that time. Now that I'm older, when these guys are now older, some of them have got their own families, they've got careers that are running.
Yeah.
They come and they're like, bro, thank you. Just that thank you, it just fulfills my heart, because I was not, yes, I knew that we were doing good work.
Yeah.
But it only hits me now, actually, the type of work we were doing.
Yeah.
These people are not, people come and say, Joe, thank you.
Yeah.
Hormani, just thank you.
Yeah.
They're like, just thank you. And it just fulfills my heart. And I'm like, if each and every one of us as professionals, or whatever you want to call us, middle class, or at least some of us that have had that little blessing or opportunity to sort of, do well in our lives, I think we have to play some sort of a role back in the hood.
Definitely.
Even if it's just one student, one learner,
Yeah. Brand SA has a campaign called Play Your Part. And I love that campaign because it really talks about active citizenry. And it's exactly what you're saying. Each of us, from the guy who pours petrol in your car to the lady who packs your groceries, go check us. We all have a role and a part to play in terms of creating a different narrative for our country. When you look at the last time I was Mafikeng, I was so heartbroken at how dirty the CBD is.
Oh, man.
And ke rona re dulang mo lesweng leo. And we sit in the filth and complain that government isn't doing anything. And it's not about waiting for somebody to come and do something. Why re sa kono make? Mafielo, why re sa kono make? Just the space that we're in. Because how tsoga and you step into that environment, it really does impact you. it really starts impacting you, and it impacts your level of self-esteem, your level of self-worth, and what you start believing you deserve. You think you deserve, subconsciously, go dula mo lesweng leo. And only the elites deserve to stay in neighborhoods that are clean, that are functioning. No, we really need to step up and to say, this isn't working. This is not working. So what do we need to do in order to create that shift for ourselves and come together as communities to create the change and the shift that we want to see?
Are you optimistic about our country?
Always.
Same here. People sometimes they think I'm crazy. I'm
Always.
I'm so optimistic about South Africa.
Always.
They're like, no, but everything's going down. Everything is just falling apart.
I think we're on the brink of a revolution. And, people want to complain about my 2000. My 2000 are coloring outside of the lines. They don't have time to listen to what you believe is possible. And that's exactly what we need. They're the most technologically connected and the most globally connected generation of all time. So what does that mean? And how can we support them to be globally competitive and to access opportunities globally? We look at youth unemployment in our country. The stats are so high. So what are we doing to support young people to access opportunities and employment elsewhere? Because we still don't talk about that. I have a cousin who moved to South Korea. She studied film and she went there as a teacher and now has gotten into the marketing industry in South Korea. And I always say to her, Kutlwano, you need to speak to my bursary students. What did you do to get to a point where it was possible for you to go abroad and to create a life for yourself? Because we can't hold young people back because South Africa, maybe things are limited, our resources, haranang. Okay, cool, guys, tamayang. You're so smart. You're so passionate. You have, you have these ideas, and we have resources that we can actually support you to say, let's get such and such a person to come. Maybe we don't have money, but we know people, and people are the biggest resource. So even just that mentorship and just supporting people to say, this is how I made it. I think that is so valuable as well.
And then when you come in here, you're bringing some interesting books, and you're saying this one was written by your mother.
Yes, my mom.
Queen Ramotsehoa.
Yes.
Ramotsehoa.
Yes.
So that's your mother.
That's my mom.
She's also a leadership coach.
She is.
Okay,
She
tell
is.
me about this Turning the Corner Self-Leadership Journal.
So, in my profile, I say that coaching is not a luxury. I mean it. Coaching is very expensive and it's not accessible to a lot of people. So my mom actually created these tools and resources where you can have the tools and you can work through the journals and the diary on your own. And it gives you access to coaching even if you don't have a coach sitting there with you. Because coaching is so expensive and organizations are so skeptical about paying for it.
Yeah.
And some parents, I get moms that call me, but my son and he needs coaching. But when you tell them the fee, then mamzo are yo nanka se khoni. So it's just easier to say buka kiye, it's $250. He can go through it and it'll really start supporting him. I say clarity is power. The clearer you are about what you want, more pillow, the easier it is for you to make the next step. And not only that, to recover when things don't go right. Because life isn't built for perfection. So when things go wrong, you just, I just need to get through this. But maybe that wasn't the right thing for me to do, So these tools and these resources are to help people and support people where they don't have access to an actual coach, but they can go through these resources every single day or weekly to check in and just make sure that you are staying on top of what you say you want to create in your life.
So guys, this one is green. It's called Turning the Corner Self-Leadership Journal. Leading leadership coach Queen Ramotsehoa is continuing to listen to her clients and create tools that support them once they are off the life support, which is coaching sessions. These tools also support those who never got to those coaching sessions to self-coach with guidance. The pack comprising the Turning Corner Self-Coach Journal and the self-coaching cards. Oh, these are the self-coaching cards.
Yes.
Tell us about these.
So that actually takes you through the year, every week of the year. There's different themes and you get different resources as well. So every quarter has a tool that you need to master in that quarter. and by the end of the quarter, like, you know how to communicate consciously. So when you engage with people, you know exactly what it is, how you need to frame certain things, how you want to communicate. Do you want to impact? Do you want to inspire? It just changes the way that you start engaging with people as well. So you go through the journal and you go through the cards weekly.
The self-coaching pack anchored in consciousness is an extensive self-coaching manual. It allows you weekly pit stops for you when you choose to live and create consciously. The journal gives you an opportunity to stay connected to the national agenda through the monthly word clouds, and also to stay connected to your personal growth through the self-coaching cards. Amazing. Open quote, having a personal coach has become a necessity for anyone wanting to expand their personal and professional horizons. Life can be overwhelming when you're expected to excel in all aspects of it. As a leader, a provider, a constructive member of society, among many other hats that we wear, says Mrs. Ramotsehoa. Do yourself a favor, get this pack and use it powerfully to create a powerful, worthwhile life for yourself. Benefit others while on your own journey. Mama Queen, she looks exactly like you. Mama Queen Ralebo, beautiful work. And thank you for passing it on to her. Do you guys work together?
Yes. We really believe in intergenerational leadership. You know, you can't Google experience, which is why the older generation is important. You know, it's important for us to mentor and to lead, because there's no benefit in my 2000 making the same mistakes we made. They need to make new mistakes, you know, and that's the benefit of standing on the shoulders of giants. For me, you know, my mentor changed my life because she really opened me up to global opportunities. Kagiso Msimang, she's also a coach, and I remember when I wanted to go to One Young
She's
World.
incredible. I've worked with her before, yeah.
She really believed in me, and she saw something in me. And when I wanted to go to One Young World, and it was so expensive, and I couldn't find a sponsor, and my parents were just like, "You need to figure it out." And I said to her, you know, I really want to go, and I want to, you know, represent South Africa, and I want to see what other young people are doing to come up with solutions to similar challenges that we have. Because in order for us to, you can't be globally competitive in Joburg. You actually need to go out and see, you know, so that we can say, this is what they're doing in Hong Kong. This is what they're doing in Singapore. How can we tweak it for a South African context? Kofi Annan always said, think internationally, think globally, but act locally. And that for me was so important. So when I told her about One Young World, she introduced me to her boss, Murphy Morobe, and he actually sponsored me to go to One Young World. And that changed and catalyzed everything else in my life. I was able to change the direction of my business, how I wanted to coach. Intergenerational leadership became pivotal because I understood that if he hadn't sponsored me, I wouldn't have gone. So the older generation is important because they have access to resources, they're knowledgeable, they can mentor us in meaningful ways. But we have the ideas that can then turn into a global business, an international business. And I've also been able to start other organizations outside just because I was exposed to One Young World. Definitely.
Tell us about those other organizations.
So I actually own a distribution business. It's online, and we provide support to plastic surgeons in the country. We sell post-op garments, so that is where I'm able to create employment for other young people. And just for me, it's important to say, what are you interested in? So there's a young lady who works for me. She is amazing at makeup. So every course, and then I send it on all of these courses. She's done everything. And she's worked for me for a really long time, for about 6 years. And, you know, she has her own aspirations. And I said, bring me a business plan. I'll fund whatever.
Yeah.
You know, you've really proved yourself. And I don't want her to work for me forever. She needs to I need to catalyze her so she starts a business so that she employs other young people as well. So that is why I decided entrepreneurship needs to be bigger than just the coaching. I need to start other businesses as well that will able to just open up opportunities for other young people as well.
What a cool boss. I like that. I've always been like that. I don't want people to work with me or work for me and just be here forever. No.
Yeah.
And when people want to grow, where you start having a bit of a issue, Come on, let people flourish,
People
man.
need to go.
Let people fly and let them
Yeah.
go and grow, you know?
I always say to her, "Ke ne ke mmotsa the other day gore o na le passport," because I was planning a trip for us to go.
I always ask you, passport, you ready,
E kae
boss?
passport?
Oh, sharp, already. Oh, okay. Oh, it's 8 okay.
You know, because I also wanted to be exposed to global opportunities, and she can't do that from Joburg. So ke ne ke mmotsa ke re kae passport di motho wa Modimo ra tsamaya ke tlo tsamaya nna.
Yeah.
Ha o
And
sena
ke tlo
passport ke
ke
tlo
tlo
go
founela ke re ka
siya.
hosane,
You
I'm
know,
out, yeah.
exactly. So I was saying to Kim Mogwara, how you need to get a learners, you need to get a passport, you need to. So she was like, yeah, I was happy, I'll do it. Ke re, hey, nna ke a tsamaya, ke tlo go siya. So it's so important to amplify other people and to open up those opportunities, because if we don't, re tlo dula with all of these resources and it's actually not going to be beneficial for anybody.
And then let's talk about family.
Family, I am married.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I have a stepdaughter who is 12 years old. And she also is so challenging. I think being a parent is probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And it's so challenging and so rewarding in weird ways that force me to really grow outside of myself. I think I was super selfish before I became an instant parent, and she just jolted my life in a completely different way.
Oh, man, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
What inspires you about being a family person as an entrepreneur?
Your family is everything for me.
It pushes your business, right?
Yeah. And I mean, even I work with my younger brother as well. So he is a content creator, he's a model, he's a photographer, he's a videographer. So Ning I drag him, and then we go and we film content with different plastic surgeons to just get more education out there. Because I think a lot of women want to get these procedures done, but you want to be safe while you're getting the procedures done. For me, education is everything, no matter what I'm doing. So I work with my younger brother, and it's just about opening up those opportunities in areas that people are in of their interests. Photography, as a black person, my dad was just like, photography.
Yeah.
Hey, wa modela wena wa apula, because he was in the Shield ad. And my dad was just like, people are gonna pay you to take your shirt off. And I was like, listen, if they're gonna do it, you might as well. So it's really also about celebrating what people do that you might not understand. To say this person is really good at X. How can we open an opportunity for them? How can we support them to be able to really build a sustainable, profitable business? For me, it's so important. It's not just about young people starting businesses. They need to be profitable so that you can keep the lights on. I think poverty is the most depressing thing ever. And it's just so many young people get sucked into it because they don't have that support that they need.
Source of spiritual support. I mean, are you religious? Are you a Christian?
I am very religious. I grew up in a Catholic school, and I'm a person of faith. I think God has really brought me through a lot of difficulties and challenges in my life, because just by my strength, I would have given up ages ago. I remember when I had signed a contract with a massive retailer in the country, and they tanked my contract at the last minute, but I had invested like 800K already. And I remember sitting there saying to them, do you know how much money I've invested based on the commitment that you made and the contract that we had signed? And I remember the manager said to me, what's 800,000 Rand to a business like this? And I felt like saying, and my husband kept saying to you, why in his individual capacity? And I was just so gutted. Oh my God.
Did you sue?
I didn't. Some things,
Some things they're not your energy, right?
Yeah.
Your time.
I just felt like, imagine, he's going to tell me that I had invested is nothing compared to this massive retailer.
That's $1 million.
So imagine. Oh my God. I thought, yeah, for sure. I've never cried so much in my life. I thought for sure I would never start another business. The feeling of absolute disappointment was just so immense. I would burst into tears. I'd be in traffic. I mean, God bless anybody who saw me driving. Also busy walla. I mean,
shame.
but I was so heartbroken. You know, you think that you've had this massive breakthrough, but then it just falls apart. And I used to wonder, gore, king eleng gore I'm supposed to learn. I'm supposed to learn something from this, you know? And those things, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. Honestly, that's exactly how it is. And for me, it just showed me I can overcome anything. And it forced me to go back to my original commitment to say I need to start businesses to be able to create jobs for young people in this country. And it's the same thing happened when my husband's businesses were looted during the looting last year.
Don't say.
Oh my gosh. That feeling of dread came back. I remember watching it on CCTV and we're just watching people getting into the shop, and there's nothing that you can do. And I was so upset. That's the first time that I questioned leaving, like I seriously considered leaving the country. Maybe it's time. Let's sell everything. Let's move. I can get a job anywhere in the world. I have cousins in London. Let's move to London. I was looking for houses. Oh my gosh, It was such a dark time. And my husband said to me, what was our commitment when we started these businesses? To create employment in communities that have been forgotten. So we're going to rebuild. And he was so clear. We will figure it out and we will rebuild. And we have over 300 employees that are going to be unemployed. Imagine that many people without work because you feel so heartbroken because this happened to you. Now you're just making it about yourself. What about these communities? I remember when my grand passed away, right after the looting, we needed to bring groceries. Onions or tomatoes or garlic powder or whatever. There was no way to buy it. You would need to drive to Vanderbilt Park to buy bread. It costs you more to get in a taxi go Vanderbilt than the actual loaf of bread. And that was such a, it was such a moment of clarity to say, if we do not rebuild, because king o tlo palama di-taxi go ya ko Vanderbilt go reka borotho. And what does that do for the amount of money that is in the community? It's not that we can stretch the rand anymore because it's going to evaporate even before o fitla o re o lo reka dijo. So that really, my fighting spirit for South Africa was definitely tested then. And I also know that so many people were burnt by that experience. And I'm hoping, God willing, that we will never let it get that bad ever again. Because people in Sandton still continue their lives. Go Evatoni, there was nothing. Go Tembisa, there was nothing. Go Deep Sloot, there was nothing. But life continued for people with resources. So maybe I'm crazy, but I'm very optimistic about our country and the people in our country. And I remember getting pictures from my bursary students. They went back home to Tembisa to help clean up the shopping centers. And they were like, oh, Tshepi, the managers by the malls don't trust us. But we hear, come fear law with mops to help. Because we don't want these people to think that we don't need them in our communities, that we don't appreciate them. Our brothers and sisters work in these branches, in these stores. And that for me, if my students could go back and help, then we needed to figure out a way to rebuild. And fortunately we have.
You're doing incredible work with young people and it's so inspiring and impressive. If you were to get a position in government, what would you do? Or maybe let me put it this way. What do you think government has to do to help our young people?
Listen to them. I think we need to listen to young people. And I think that it starts in schools. I would invest in schools. When I was growing up, we had a community center called Mabana.
Oh, you grew up in Mafikeng?
So my family's from Mafikeng. So
okay.
holiday because that's where my aunts and my cousins were. And those community centers had activities for us every single day. There were different activities. And I would reinvest in those community centers that support young people with maybe extra lessons. If somebody's battling with maths, if somebody's battling with English, to say if you dropped out and you had to drop out and you only have standard 10, let's support you to get matric. My husband is building a shopping center, and the minimum requirement for you to even become a petrol attendant is matric. And so many people don't have matric, banally grade 8, banally grade 10. So even if these developments are coming to your community, you still can't access them because you don't have that matric. So let's help you to get the matric, to say you're going to start more, but you're going to build. I have a friend who was a Rwandan refugee, and he came to SA and taught himself English as a car guard, ended up getting a bursary from UKZN and studied. And when I look at where he is now, he's an author, he's a speaker, and he was a car guard.
From being a car guard?
From being a car guard.
Do you know that's the story of the musician? Do you know a musician by the name of Tresor?
Yes.
That's his story.
So,
he came to South Africa as a refugee, fleeing, and he tells me the story of how he almost died a couple of times escaping with his life.
Yeah.
And when he landed in South Africa, he landed in Durban.
Yes.
And he was a car guard in Durban before he moved up to Joburg. Today he's a superstar musician.
I mean, those stories are so important because it just shows you with just sheer will, you can completely change your life. You can come from nothing and you can change your life. And for me, that's so important for people to know, don't lose hope, because how we anything, you don't see no light. It isn't true. And I would start at schools. I would create sustainable feeding programs for kids. I would have mentorship sessions, career guidance, and master classes, and get people, like I'm saying, our biggest resource is people. People from our communities have made it and are successful. And
and but show us how you bought those cars.
Teach us.
Teach us.
It's so powerful just how somebody sharing their story can actually just give you hope. And for me, that's where we need to start. We need to reinvest in education in our country and get young people to be able to play on a global platform. Like I'm saying, this is the most globally connected generation of all time. Let's support them in being globally competitive, even if it's from Tshepiso. But you can compete with kids from London and the States and Japan because you have the capability. We just need to open these opportunities up.
And then let's say if you were to implement a policy in Parliament, what law would you implement?
What law would I implement?
It's an interesting one, eh?
It's such a big one.
Because the laws get implemented in Parliament, And that's basically the system that has been going on for many years, and unfortunately for a lot of us, it hasn't been favorable to us.
No, it hasn't.
I mean, as for instance, laws that have to do with small businesses, you know?
Definitely.
Even banking laws as well.
Yeah. I would give, especially entrepreneurs, I would give them access to tuto, how to start a business. I'd give them access to funding, because saying people must start businesses is one thing. Starting a business is hard, and you need inventory. Inventory is expensive. You need tax breaks. You need to support people. Trying to import products into South Africa is the most costly thing I've ever done in my life. So why are we not manufacturing these products locally?
Let's industrialize.
Let's go back to people using their hands. A plumber charges more per hour than a doctor.
Wow, I didn't know.
And it's things like that where this thing, either you must become a teacher or a nurse or a doctor or a lawyer. No, man, we need plumbers. We had to import welders during the World Cup. We had to import welders from Egypt because we didn't have enough welders in our country. In a country that does not have enough employment, there's no way. We needed to import welders. And for me, it's just about, let's get these technical schools back on track to say, let's learn how to do hair. Let's go and get these qualifications. Let's learn how to be a mechanic. You can be a mechanic anyway. Do you want to go and work for the F1 one day? Okay, cool. You need to learn how to be a mechanic. Let's start here and let's see how we can get you to that level. So for me, it's really about saying, what do young people want to be doing? Where are your talents? And where are your strengths, and how can we amplify them? Because we really focus on, if somebody brings a report home, what is the subject that we're going to focus on? The subject where they're not doing well. But we're not going to amplify something that your child is actually great at and invest money in that. You're going to invest where they suck, which isn't empowering. Like, if I suck at maths, I don't want to spend more time doing maths. I just want to get by. I just want to do just enough to pass. But if I'm great at cooking, let me go to culinary school, So for me, let's support young people by investing where they are naturally good at, because that's where we're going to create mastery. That's where we're going to see people really become pioneers and game changers, captains of industry.
Do you think the country deserves, or it's about time it has a younger leaders?
Definitely. I think intergenerational leadership is something that our politicians haven't embraced. We need them because they have the experience. They know what it took to get us here, but they don't necessarily know what it's going to take to get us to the next 20 years and envisioning South Africa of the future. The banks like to talk about, what does banking of the future look like? People want to bank from their homes. So what does that mean for branches? And those are the conversations that happen in business. But those aren't conversations we're happening, around our country and where we're going as a country. If you ask 5 South Africans outside, what's the vision of our country? Everybody's going to tell you their version, And as a result, we're not all pulling in the same direction. We're not all focused and clear about where we fit in manifesting that vision of South Africa in 30 years' time. Where are we going? And what do we each need to do to play our part? To get us there, because we all need to play a part.
It's 2022. Is the current South African education curriculum relevant
Absolutely
to a young
not.
person in this day and age?
No. We talk about entrepreneurship. Where are young people supposed to learn about entrepreneurship if they're not learning in school? They spend so much time at school, but is what they're learning even relevant? Where's digital literacy? Where are, the schools don't even have toilets. When are we going to get these kids to be, savvy, technologically savvy? In terms of, you see toddlers, they see you unlock your phone once. And this is how I open this phone. This is how I download.
That's my daughter who shows me things. I'm like, how did you do that?
Yeah.
She's like, very easy. Let me show you.
Yes. But they download apps, they download games. These kids are amazing. So what are we doing to, amplify this natural curiosity that they have? Or are we still learning the same old things that I was learning?
Guys,
oh my gosh, that's
we're failing
terrible.
our kids, though.
Honestly, we should be teaching them how to code. And this is the problem, because when you go to the private schools and these elite schools, that's what they're being taught. Coding, and they get access to people from NASA coming to speak to them. But the majority of people in our country don't have access to that. So what does that mean? You're leaving the majority behind. We can't afford to do that. We can't afford to do that. So we need to do things differently.
That is so dope. You've got such an incredible mind. How does your future look like?
Oh my gosh. I would love to build a community center in every community that we have businesses in. And I would love to work with retired teachers who are still passionate about educating young people, and have programs and masterclasses and those extra tutoring and lessons, cooking classes and just digital literacy classes and TikTok masterclasses for young people in these communities, because I think that's what will change things, and it's also something that I can actually do. So I don't like to think about things in sort of airy-fairy kind of way. If we're going to create solutions, they need to be real solutions. And that's something that I can do in the next 5 to 10 years. So that is my priority.
Have you seen how dope these kids are on TikTok?
They're amazing.
Sure,
They are
sure,
so funny.
sure,
I am laughing. I can't believe it took me so long to get onto TikTok.
Wow.
It is the most hysterical
The talent
place.
that is there,
it's
though.
amazing.
And I'm not only talking the comedians and the dancers.
Yeah.
I'm just talking everyone. Some are talking about
Everyone.
property.
Yes.
Some are talking about spirituality.
Oh my gosh.
Some are sharing
Yeah.
about how to make money online.
It's amazing.
Guys, TikTok
TikTok is it's such an amazing platform to learn. There was a girl who was talking about things to consider when you buy your first property.
Yeah.
How lovely is that?
How dope is that?
I mean, I was clueless. I mean, there's so many things that I didn't know that I'm still learning on TikTok, or how to use the TikTok algorithm to
Yeah.
get your content. It's
How
so
to go
cool.
viral on TikTok.
Yes,
You know
and
what I mean?
just that people are like sharing what they care about. I think that's so important as well. We don't
Yeah.
all care about the same things.
Yeah.
The people that care about the environment, and there are people who are more than happy to pay the carbon emissions taxes because they want to drive the cars that they want to drive, and like they'll recycle from time to time. But I think that you will find your community, and you can build a community of people who care about what you care about. So you're not alone. And I think that the fact that it is global in nature makes it even more incredible to say that young people in South Africa are coming up with such amazing solutions. They're so talented. It's just, I love TikTok. I think it's an incredible app.
When you get into such platforms, those are some of the things that make me more optimistic about South Africa.
Definitely.
Because it just shows you that these young people that we keep on speaking about as if they're just statistics or numbers,
Yeah.
Ekasi, give them something like little technology like TikTok and see how brilliant they are.
Absolutely.
And some of them are turning themselves into entrepreneurs. Some of
Yeah.
them are turning themselves into influencers.
Yeah.
Some of themselves are turning themselves into like all these different
Yeah.
things just because now they've got access
Definitely.
with that app called TikTok. They're changing their lives.
I had a mom, I did a radio interview the other evening, and the mom was asking me, how are kids supposed to learn when the libraries are empty or they're closed? And I said to her, your kid has a phone and they have data and they're on social media. That's where they're going to learn. And it's that peer-to-peer learning and teaching as well, you know, and a lot of reverse mentoring is also happening. And a lot of businesses are starting to embrace that, where young people, they have a junior board, where the junior board advises the board or the executive.
Yes.
Because I think that's where we're going, where young people are going to start being given platform and a voice to start implementing change. And that's what I'd love to see happen in government, because it's starting to happen in business now, where the executive, there's a junior executive, there's a junior board. So when they go, you can't go later, boss ride and talk about the vision of whatever.
Yeah.
You guys are about to retire. What
know
are you
what I mean?
talking
You guys
about?
are old,
Like, what are you
yeah.
talking about? So that's when the junior board then steps in to say, both, the generations come together to say, what are we seeing? What did it take for us to get these businesses to this point? What is it going to take for you guys to lead from here moving forward? And that's what is so important. That intergenerational leadership is critical, because that's when we're going to stand on the shoulders of giants, truly.
I like that. Now that's what I do. Now I evolve with young people. You know, I come from mainstream media. Now I'm on the internet.
Yeah.
I'm moving with young people. And it's them
100%.
that advise me, Grootman, podcast.
I get it, yes.
I'm like, I'm moving with it,
critical.
right? I'm on crypto now. I'm learning crypto. I'm learning
Yeah.
all these digital spaces. Because if you don't do that, you get left behind.
100%.
The world is moving at such an amazing pace.
Definitely. And even e-commerce, I'm doing an e-commerce masterclass now. And that's exactly how it is, to say, where is business going? Where should we be thinking? And those are the kinds of questions that you need to ask yourself. And in coaching, the quality of the question will determine the quality of the data you receive back. Sometimes it's not that people don't know. Sometimes we're asking the wrong question. And you just need somebody to ask you the right question to completely change your perspective about certain things.
I look at Theo building Batu. I look at Tula Cindy. I look at Lekao Drip. I look at all of us. We've built our brands on social media. I
Definitely.
built this drink on social media.
Yeah.
I literally just use my phone.
Yeah.
Everything that I would do, I just record with my phone.
Yeah.
And here I am, I'm sitting with a brand that is like growing like crazy. And that's what I say. Sometimes we overcomplicate things because we think we just need these, I don't know, whatever we think.
Yeah.
Sometimes we overthink things.
Yeah.
Just do, execute, man.
Definitely. Definitely.
And that's what these youngsters are doing online.
For sure. They turn nothing into something in the blink of an eye. And it's just for us to create spaces for them to excel and thrive. That's the most critical thing.
Thank you so much, Tshepi.
Thank you.
Now you're doing incredible work with young people.
Thank
May
you
you
so much.
continue, thrive, grow, and just change as many lives as possible.
Thank you. That's the plan.
And before I let you go, I'm going to ask you to look at the camera. Which camera? This one, eh? I'm going to ask you to look at this camera. I'm going to send you this video in 20 years. I want you to speak to an older version of yourself 20 years from today. 20 years from today, if, say, for instance, you're 20, you'll be 40 at that time. I'll send you this video. What would you like to say to that amazing woman over there? You're probably watching this video with your grandkids as well. What would you like to say to them?
I'd like
To yourself
say
first.
to
Let's speak to
myself,
yourself first, yeah. An older version of you.
An older version of me.
Now remember, in 20 years, you'll be watching this video. You'll be watching this younger version. Yeah.
I'd like to say that we did it. We overcame so many challenges, but we stayed focused, we stayed strong, and we stayed committed to the vision. And I'm proud of everything that we've been able to create so far, and I'm so excited for everything we're going to create in the future.
You're such an amazing person because I can even listen to your speech. There's no I. There's we.
And that's collaborative intelligence is the way that I look at the world, and that's why I say people are our biggest resource. We are coming into an era where it's not what we know, it's also who we know. And being collaboratively intelligent means you pull in the right people at the right time. And there's so much power in that because we're not all good at the same things. And what you're great at, I don't need to be great at. I just need to bring you in, So that collaborative intelligence is so critical as well.
Peniel always says that we don't have to like each other to work together. And I'd like for you to just I don't want to say motivational talk, but just speak to young people, man. Just speak to them.
Yeah.
However long, just look at them and speak to them, man.
Guys, you are in unprecedented times, and you have everything that you need to create the shift in your life. Maybe you don't come from an affluent family, you don't come from circumstances that you are happy or proud about, but you need to know, if you have a dream, if you have that determination and that will, then you can make it. You can make it. So I really want to encourage young people to really look at what it is that you want. I always say clarity is power. The clearer you are about what you want, the easier it's going to be for you to take the next step. You don't have to have it all figured out. You could still be battling with a lot of questions about who you are, what you want to do. But if you just know this next step that I'm taking, I don't have to second guess it. And we are here to support you. We have resources. You just need to get in touch with us. I have a Facebook page. You can send me a message. There's a young person that I met the other day. She was looking for a job. Job opportunities. Every time I see a job opportunity, I send it to her. So don't be afraid to ask people for help. Don't be afraid to ask people for support. We're here. We love you. We want to help you. And we need you to take our country to the next level.
And then lastly, where do we find these books? Where do we find these journals, these cards, everything?
We're online. So you can find these resources at www.tsheto.co.za. Tsheto, Tsheto. You can give us a call on 011-432-0905.
That number again, a bit slower?
011-432-0905. And if you need coaching, if you need, if you have an event at your school, I always used to go and speak at UJ, and now the lady that was coordinating, now she works for Nedbank, and she was saying, guys, I used to force my friends to come and listen to Tshepi when I was in university, and I was just like, yes, Lesego has always been dragging people along to say, we're going to be better, we're going to do better. So if you have events and you want us to come and chat to your school, at your university, just let us know.
And then what's your social media?
My social media, my Facebook page is Tshepiso Ramotsehoa. So that's pretty much the only page that I have. I post job opportunities there as well. So if there's opportunities that come by my desk, then I post them there as well.
So we'll have you back. You're amazing. God bless you.
Thank you so much. This is an amazing platform. You're reaching young people exactly where they need to be met.
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you so much for doing this, and thank you for giving us the privilege of working with you to create impact and change.
Okay, Alebo. Looking forward to working with you, learning from you,
Awesome.
and we're looking forward to hosting you once again because you are just along the alley of what we do, empowering young people, being friends with young people, understanding them, being in that lane, and just being that little consistent voice that keeps on spreading positivity.
Definitely,
I
definitely.
hope it does make a difference to you guys out there.
Definitely. Thank
But
you so
young
much.
people are doing great things with their lives. The question is, what are you doing with yours? We'll see you guys on the next episode.
This is the Hustler's Corner.